Deep inside a dark cave, someone is mining relentlessly. The pickaxe strikes the wall with a powerful thud. Then, a mysterious blue liquid starts to drip from the crack. Our main character is thrilled. He's finally found what he was looking for. And so, he begins to collect the blue ink dripping from the stone into a vial. He thanks his little companion, Nero, who helped him on his quest. Our hero now believes he can finally be accepted into the Pioneer Corps. From there, the young man starts to walk out of the cave. Outside, he gazes at a futuristic city glowing in the distance. At the same time in the city, a crowd gathers to watch an event. Before them all appear the Colorists, a group of heroes with vibrant hair. The people admire them greatly, as they are strong and defeat massive monsters. Because of them, the shining city remains safe and prosperous. However, the scene shifts to a poorer, darker part of the city. In this place, known as the Shadow District, the people look worried. There, a poster for the C-rank Pioneer Corps exam is tacked to a wall. Suddenly, our protagonist is thrown hard to the ground by someone. One of the guys says that this place isn't for him. Our hero doesn't understand and shows them the vial of ink he collected. He yells that it's proof of his qualifications for the test. But one of the men is getting really annoyed with the kid's persistence. From there, he reveals why they won't accept him, because he's a colorless. The man explains that everyone is born with a set role in society. His hand begins to glow as he calls him a damned colorless. With that, a wave of power hits the protagonist. The guy says that the job of a pioneer is only for the chosen ones, and that only people like them, who possess colors, can become one. Besides, he says that weaklings don't last long in the dangerous Blacklands. That place is an endless darkness, full of dangerous creatures, and pioneers risk their lives to find resources for humanity. The man brags, saying that they are the true heroes of the city. Therefore, he says a colorless could never do that and should find another job. Then, he tells our protagonist to get lost and never come back. The young man stays silent while his companion Nero looks worried, but he calms him down, saying it's okay because this happens all the time. Our protagonist declares that he will become the greatest colorist because it's a promise. With that, he asks Nero to hide so no one sees him, and so, the kid decides to look elsewhere to try his luck. Meanwhile, one of the guys who dismissed him watches him walk away. The green-haired fellow seems to have a strange interest in our main character. He continues his search for a place that will accept him, going from door to door. However, with each attempt, he just crosses another name off his list. By the end of the day, he's disappointed for having had no luck at all. With no other option, he heads to a place called Mary's Workshop. Arriving there, he opens the door and calls out for Marie, who has her back to him. The young woman turns around and greets him cheerfully, calling him Kay. Marie quickly notices his sadness and asks if he got rejected again. She gets indignant, saying they have no eye for the talent Kay possesses. Marie argues that his skills in the Blacklands are more than proven. Our hero humbly says he only manages because of Nero's help. With that, he offers her the ink he collected, and Marie agrees to buy it for a good price. She mentions that ink has been scarce lately, and prices have shot up due to the increase in pioneers. Apparently, their way of life depends heavily on this essential resource. Given the situation, Marie asks if Kay has thought about what she mentioned before. He's a bit hesitant, but the girl insists on the topic. Next, she places a paper on the table for him to see. It's a recruitment flyer for the S-rank Dawn Pioneer Corps. Kay becomes thoughtful, as he's never tried for something S-rank out of fear of failure. Marie encourages him, saying it's a great opportunity based on merit. She looks at him with hope, believing he'll finally be recognized there. Marie reminds him that this has been his dream since he was just a child, and that she'll always support him, no matter what happens. With a smile, our protagonist agrees, since he's not exactly in a position to be picky. From there, he takes the flyer for the Dawn Pioneer Corps. Kay says goodbye to Marie, thanking her, and she wishes him good luck. Then, Kay walks alone through the dark streets of the district. Looking at the flyer, he notices he has little time, but Nero starts to grow. Our protagonist finds the behavior odd and asks what's wrong. Suddenly, a man with a green staff appears behind Kay. The same guy from before now stares at him with a wicked grin, summoning a greenish energy from his staff. Without warning, he launches a powerful energy attack toward Kay. Surprised, Kay has no chance to dodge the sneak attack. The blast hits him head-on, sending him flying from the impact. The attackers approach and mock him for still being alive. With Kay down on the ground, the man says no one would care if a colorless just disappeared. With his last bit of strength, Kay looks at Nero, who is crying, worried about him. Our protagonist then tells his little friend to run away from there. Right after, the scene shows us an ink waste disposal site. It's in this place that Kay wakes up sometime later, in a lot of pain. Before him stands the green-haired man with a terrifying smile on his face. The villain holds him over the edge of a huge tank, filled with a black liquid. He explains that the liquid is a lethal residue from the mix of all inks. With difficulty, Kay asks who he is and what he wants. Our protagonist wants to know the reason for the attack, but the man just stares at him. The guy reveals that they were surprised to find a treasure in the Shadow District, and that treasure was Nero, an intelligent creature that followed a human. It turns out they had already captured the little one and locked him in a cage. Desperate, Kay screams his friend's name, who cries from inside the cage. He tries to attack the man to save Nero, but is easily restrained. Their plan is to sell little Nero on the black market to make a fortune. The green-haired man says a treasure like Nero is too good for a colorless. Our protagonist regrets letting his guard down in the Shadow District. He can't accept them taking Nero, his only family, for such a stupid reason. With that, an immense fury takes over Kay, and he screams at them not to mess with him. Suddenly, a strange dark energy begins to flow from our protagonist's hand. The villain is surprised and scared, having never felt anything like it before. Right after, the man's green energy starts being sucked into Kay's body. Disgusted by the sensation, the guy lets him go, dropping him into the tank, and he turns to follow through with his plans for Nero, and head to the black market while Nero cries in the cage. Falling into the endless darkness, Kay can only think about saving his friend, but his body won't move, and he starts to sink into the black liquid. He laments having such a pathetic end as he remembers his happy moments. However, upon remembering his childhood, he realizes he can't give up yet, because he still has a very important promise to keep. Mining in the darkness of the cave, someone strikes the stone without stopping. Hitting it with all his might, the pickaxe opens a deep crack in the wall. Dripping from it, a mysterious blue liquid begins to flow. Beaming with joy, our protagonist has finally found what he wanted. Filling the vial, he quickly collects the ink falling from the stone. Thanking him for his help, he pets his little companion Nero. Confident, the boy feels that he'll finally get into the Pioneer Corps. Leaving the cave, the young man walks toward the light outside. Spotting it in the distance, he admires the bright, futuristic shining city. Meanwhile, a restless crowd gathers for a big event. Arriving in style, the colorists in their vibrant hair appear. Admired by all, they are the strong heroes who hunt monsters. Thanks to them, the city remains safe and very wealthy. But in the Shadow District, the reality is much bleaker. Walking around worried, the people live in that dark, poor place. Staring at the dirty wall, he finds the poster for the C-rank exam. Suddenly pushed, our protagonist's face plants on the ground. Blocking his path, one of the guys warns that this is no place for him. Trying to explain himself, Kay shows the vial of ink he collected. Shouting, he insists that it's proof he can take the test. Getting irritated with his persistence, the man glares at the boy with contempt, humiliating the young man. He explains that a colorless will never be accepted there. Lecturing about life, he says that everyone is born with a defined role. Gathering green energy in his hand, the guy curses our hero, calling him damned. Hitting him square on, a wave of power throws the protagonist backward. Arrogantly stating his point, the guy says being a pioneer is for the chosen. Flaunting his strength, he says only those with colors are capable. Warning of the risk, he says that in the Blacklands, the weak don't survive. Known as a place of darkness, it's infested with terrible monsters. Saving humanity, the pioneers seek resources, risking their lives. Bragging about their fame, the man claims they are the city's heroes. Belittling the boy, he says a colorless should find a different path. Kicking the young man out, the guy tells him to never come back. Staying silent, Kay notices the concern on little Nero's face. Calming his partner, he smiles, saying this always happens. Swearing to himself, the protagonist promises to be the greatest colorist. Hiding his friend, he tells Nero not to be seen by anyone. Seeking another chance, the boy decides to try his luck elsewhere. Watching from afar, the guy who kicked him out keeps an eye on his steps. Showing interest, the green-haired fellow gives a dark smile. Continuing his journey, Kay knocks on door after door throughout the city. Crossing names off his list, he only receives harsh rejections. As the day ends, our hero feels sad and hopeless. With only one option left, he walks to the familiar Mary's workshop. Opening the door, the young man calls for his friend, who had her back turned. Screaming for help, Kay begs his friend Nero for immediate assistance. Reacting quickly, the little cat spins in the air, gathering magical power. Exploding in light, Nero's body illuminates the entire darkness. Watching from the shadows, dozens of evil eyes stare at their prey. Looking on in terror, the boy wonders where on earth he ended up. Recognizing the landscape, he realizes he's fallen into the dreaded Blacklands. Realizing his mistake, he sees he's gone past the limits of the safe forest. Attacking in a swarm, the monsters charge toward the intruder. Running for his life, he calls for Nero so they can get out of there fast. Following the command, the little ball of light keeps up with its owner in the escape. Dodging by a hair, Kay escapes a deadly attack from the shadows. Thankful for the save, he praises his companion's speed. Meowing loudly, Nero seems to detect something changing in the environment. Tearing through the silence, a pillar of light appears, illuminating the cave. Feeling a chill, Kay is confused by that mysterious energy. Feeling his body become light, Kei notices a strange energy flowing through him. Running nonstop, the boy realizes that his fatigue has simply vanished. Leaping across the rocks, he moves with a speed he's never seen before. Overflowing with vigor, our hero feels an explosive strength awakening. Keeping pace, Nero tears through the air like a small bolt of lightning. Emerging from the shadows, a huge monster attacks Kei from behind by surprise. Losing his balance, he realizes too late that he won't be able to dodge. Closing his eyes, the boy just waits for the fatal blow from the beast. Biting down hard, the creature sinks its teeth into our protagonist's arm. Breaking its teeth, the monster's eyes widen as it bites something so hard. Screaming in pain, the beast retreats, stunned, while Kei remains motionless. Checking his own arm, he's surprised to see that it's completely intact. Surviving the attack, he can hardly believe he escaped certain doom. Staring at his hands, Kei realizes this must be that power of colors. Celebrating the feat, Nero floats around his owner, who is still in shock. The ground trembling, heavy footsteps announce the arrival of something enormous. Coming out of the shadows, a gigantic Cyclops reveals itself before them. Recognizing the beast, Kei knows he's facing a deadly predator. Finding the situation odd, he wonders what a monster like this is doing here. Tearing up the ground, the creature attacks violently, trying to crush them. Mewing in fear, Nero warns his owner of the imminent danger. Dodging the blows, Kei realizes this battle is going to be tough. With a smirk, he feels a newfound confidence blooming inside him. Feeling the power, he's absolutely certain that he can win now. Remembering all he's suffered, he finally has the strength he always wanted. Clenching his fist tightly, the boy decides to stop running for good. Drawing on the memory of that attack's rage, he awakens his energy. Concentrating the flow, he feels that dark power grow even stronger. Exploding in a black aura, Kei transforms, ready for combat. Facing his demise head on, our hero doesn't back down one step. Leaping with all his might, Kei launches himself like a rocket at the monster. Landing a brutal punch, he blows the creature to bits with his strength. Cracking the ground, the impact kicks up a massive cloud of dust. Flying everywhere, the enemy's pieces scatter across the cave. Staring at the scene, our hero feels the power vibrating in his veins. Suddenly glowing, his vision is consumed by an intense light. The scenery changing, he finds himself surrounded by a colorful forest. Admiring the beauty, Kei is enchanted by that living world. Returning to reality, the black ink begins to melt off him. Breaking into a cold sweat, the boy doesn't understand what just happened. Screaming in agony, he feels his strength vanish in an instant. Falling to his knees, the young man can barely stay on his feet now. Mailing with worry, Nero rushes to help his exhausted owner. Seeing the aura fade, Kei realizes his ink is running out. Understanding the risk, he discovers that this power has a limit. Hearing distant voices, Kei feels his head spin from the effort. Losing consciousness, he struggles to keep his eyes open. Reaching out a trembling hand, the young man searches for some support on the ground. Digging his fingers into the earth, he tries to catch his lost breath. Dissipating into the air, the black energy finally leaves his body. Watching intently, little Nero glows in the darkness of the cave. Clearing the area, the dust from the battle begins to settle. Smiling in relief, our hero admits that was a close call. Taking a deep breath, Kei tries to calm down after nearly biting the dust. Returning to the city, he arrives in front of Mary's workshop. Drawing while distracted, the girl hears the sound of the door opening. Entering silently, a hooded figure appears at the entrance. Asking cheerfully, Marie wants to know what brings him there. Finding the mood strange, she notices something is wrong with the visitor. Standing still, the mysterious figure doesn't say a single word. Entering the workshop, the heavy footsteps catch Marie's attention. Asking fearfully, she doesn't recognize the hooded figure. Approaching in silence, the person corners the girl. Letting out a yell, the intruder gives the poor girl the scare of her life. Laughing at her expression, Kei pulls back his hood, revealing his identity. Trying to calm her down, he tells her it's just her same old friend. Holding a huge wrench, Marie is in shock to see him. Stuttering nervously, she can barely process that Kei came back alive. Yelling furiously, the girl asks where on earth he's been. Threatening to attack, she raises the tool, ready to strike. Cussing the boy out, Marie lets out all the worry she felt. Backing away with his hands up, Kei tries to avoid a well-deserved beatdown. Slamming the wrench on the table, she orders him to explain everything. Admitting her relief, Marie says she was happy he didn't get himself taken out. Changing the subject, our hero asks if the applications are still open. Asking to borrow clothes, Kei says he'll pay her back one day. Sighing tiredly, Marie asks how many times this has happened. Her mood shifting, she smiles, saying it's an investment in him. Pulling him by the hand, the girl tells her friend to follow her. Handing him a package, she says she has exactly what he needs. Complimenting his look, Marie says the outfit suits him perfectly. Arriving at the arena, the place is packed for the admission exam. Looking at the huge crowd, you can tell the competition is going to be fierce. Chatting nervously, some candidates comment on how anxious they are. Joining the Dawn Squad is the dream of any serious pioneer. Being the best group, everyone wants a spot on this team. Conquering the Blacklands, they have several elite colorists. Attracting big shots, the test is full of important names today. Pointing out the standouts, the crowd recognizes hares and famous hunters. Stealing the show, one specific candidate catches everyone's attention. Whispering among themselves, everyone looks at Gail, the storm sword. Hunting monsters alone, they say he has the strength of an army. Being famous for his deeds, he arrives as the clear favorite. Seeing his spot is guaranteed, many think it's impossible for him to fail. Ignoring the fans, Gail seems bored with all the attention. Looking around, all he sees is a bunch of losers. Mentally dismissing his opponents, he feels superior to everyone. His gaze stopping suddenly, he notices someone different. Walking with elegance, a girl with blue hair stands out. Known as the Ice Princess, she exudes a powerful aura. Grinning slyly, Gail admits she doesn't look half bad. Getting curious, he wants to see what she's capable of in the arena. Stuttering into the microphone, the robot asks for everyone's attention. Announcing the start, the admission exam is finally about to begin. Giving the final order, the examiners open the gates for the test. Appearing imposingly, the lead examiner silences the crowd. Being a living legend, they say his strength rivals armies. Staring at the rookies, he emanates a pure, suffocating pressure. Welcoming them, the captain thanks everyone for being there. Beginning his speech, he reminds them that this test is no joke. Knowing their dreams, he warns that ambition alone isn't enough. Being realistic, he states that half measures don't last in the Blacklands. Explaining the test, he decrees that their worth will be measured in blood. Recalling the law of the jungle, the captain says the weak become monster food. Challenging them all, he asks who among them will be the predator and who will be the prey. Calling the first names, the loudspeaker summons the initial pair. Entering the arena, Gail walks confidently, already feeling like the winner. Feeling sorry for his opponent, the audience whispers that the poor guy doesn't stand a chance. Smiling sadistically, the swordsman recognizes the victim he's about to torture. Planning his cruelty, he thinks about how he'll play with the weakling. Observing his posture, Gail thinks the guy is way too weak. Looking harmless, the figure just stands there without reacting. Unsheathing his weapon, the swordsman decides to end the boredom quickly. Walking calmly, he draws his sword, ready for the slaughter. Unleashing his aura, he decides not to hold back one bit. Recognizing the technique, everyone shouts the name of the storm sword. Generating blades of wind, Gail displays high-level control. Challenging his opponent, he tells him to try and block it if he can. Charging forward with everything, the green-haired guy begins his offensive, promising to make mincemeat out of him. He unleashes a brutal slash of energy. Without moving, the hooded figure just watches the blow coming. Dodging by a thread, he makes the wind blade miss its target. Landing a brutal punch square in the face, he sends the swordsman reeling. Exploding in dust, the impact throws Gail far away instantly. Eyes widening, the audience goes silent at the incredible scene. Crashing into the wall, Gail falls defeated amidst the rubble. Falling unconscious, the favorite loses before he even got started. Looking at his fist, Kay is surprised by his own absurd strength. Taking off his hood, he finds the silence that has fallen over the arena strange. Murmuring in fear, the candidates point at his color. Recognizing the shade, the captain states that black is the color of calamity. Feeling chills, the blue-haired girl notes that he isn't human. Showing his power, Kay has piqued everyone's interest with his rare color. Getting confused, our hero asks if he did something wrong. Breaking the tension, the rest of the competitors rush forward to attack. Launching rocks, a mage tries to catch the protagonist off guard. Dodging easily, Kay moves past the attack as if it were nothing. Spinning in the air, he counterattacks with a swift and precise movement. Slamming the guy into the ground, he knocks out another annoying opponent. Landing across, Kay takes down another rival without breaking a sweat. Watching from above, the captain notes that the boy is a rare talent. Planning quickly, he wants to secure the recruit before the gossip spreads. Walking up to him, an important visitor appears in the VIP area. Recognizing his superior, the captain salutes Chief Red with respect. Arriving in style, Red and his assistant watch the arena intently. Striking up a conversation, the redhead asks how this year's rookies are. Hiding his interest, he wants to know if there's anyone worthwhile. Complaining about the mission, Red says the previous case was a complete waste of time. An explosion in the stadium catches the attention of the two talking. Highlighting the talents, the captain mentions the ice girl and the surprise. Noticing the color, Red is shocked to see black on that boy. Explaining the hype, the captain says he humiliated the favorite in an instant. Doubting her eyes, the assistant asks if it's really the kid from before. Suspicious of everything, Red finds it very strange that he has this power now. Thrilled with his strength, Kay feels his dream of becoming a pioneer is close. Being cautious, Kay knows he needs to hide the limitation of his ink. An icy explosion, a freezing wave takes over the other side of the arena. Watching coldly, the blue-haired girl defeats several opponents at once. Announcing her victory, the Ice Princess stands out as the best. Commenting quietly, Kay admits her aura is as beautiful as his. Focusing on the goal, the boy hopes he doesn't have to face her. Crossing paths, the two finalists meet in the center of the arena. Staring silently, she sizes up the protagonist with a piercing gaze. Feeling the pressure, Kay gets tense with the proximity of that monster. Ignoring the boy, the girl walks right past him without saying a single word. Ending the phase, the captain announces that the warm-up is finally over. With few remaining, he says the real weeding out begins now. Dismissing the losers, the examiner tells the rest to get out of there. Preparing the test, he warns that the next stage will be for real. Smiling sadistically, Red decides he's going to have a little fun in the second test. Asking curiously, Kay doesn't recognize the red-haired man. Startled by his presence, everyone shouts the name of Colonel Red. Descending from the stands, the redhead walks imposingly to the center. Burning in flames, his power is visible from miles away. Being a legend, Red is one of the strongest pioneers in existence. Taking command, he announces that the plans have suddenly changed. Explaining the test, he says it's going to be very simple. Smiling dangerously, Red unleashes an unbearable wave of heat. Burning the air, the pressure crushes the candidates against the ground. Panicking, many begin to feel sick from his aura. Challenging everyone, he says that whoever remains standing passes the test. Explaining the Blacklands, he says the danger there is constant, just like this. Increasing the pressure, the colonel observes who has real grit. Resisting the heat, the strongest try not to pass out on the spot. Looking around, Red specifically searches for the boy with the black color. Assessing the crowd, Red observes who maintains control of their aura. Noticing a glow, the colonel recognizes the technique of the Cyan family. Freezing the ground, the ice expands, creating a strong barrier. Resisting the fire, the blue-haired girl blocks the heat with cold precision. Impressed with her strength, Red admits she overcomes the disadvantage. Proving her talent, the princess shows why she's considered a genius. Shifting his focus, the examiner now looks for the boy with the black color. Finding his target, he decides to test the mysterious rookie's limit. Throwing his pressure at him, Red wants to see if the boy is all he's cracked up to be. Suffering from the impact, Kay seems about to collapse right there. Disappointed by the scene, the colonel thinks he expected too much from him. Trembling with effort, our hero feels his body reaching its limit. Remembering the fight, Kay realizes he used almost all his ink. With his reserves depleted, he knows he has no energy to defend himself. Panicking, he's terrified of being revealed as a colorless. Holding on by a thread, Kay feels his body is about to give out. Getting an idea, he realizes the colonel's energy is the key. Risking it all, the boy decides to test his absorption ability. Doubting the result, he extends his hand toward the fiery aura. Touching the intense heat, he activates the hidden power of the black color. Pulling violently, the vortex begins to drain the surrounding pressure. Startling those nearby, the technique creates a vacuum in the middle of the arena. Devouring the flames, Kay feels his vigor return with full force. Forming a tornado, the mix of energies leaves everyone in shock. Asking in disbelief, the captain doesn't understand what he's seeing. Understanding the trick, Red smiles, satisfied with the rookie's audacity. Overflowing with power, the boy struggles not to explode from the overload. Standing out in the arena, he looks like a monster among humans. Realizing he overdid it, Kay notices he's drawn way too much attention. Intrigued, the Ice Princess decides not to take her eyes off him. Doubting what they see, everyone questions if that color can be real. Feeling threatened, the Ice Princess glares at Kay with concern. Remembering her family, she recalls the pressure to always be the best. Avoiding shame, she would never accept falling behind someone. Acknowledging defeat, she admits she couldn't win against that monster. Noticing the strange aura, the girl realizes he is a living mystery. Ignoring logic, she decides his identity doesn't matter. Promising a rematch, the blue-haired girl guarantees the result will be different next time. Smirking, Red notices the black power swallowed his flames. Dying of curiosity, he decides to keep an eye on this rare rookie. Receiving the news, Kay is in shock to learn he was approved. Beaming inside, he has finally achieved his dream of becoming a pioneer. Slipping away quietly, Red leaves the poor captain holding the bag. Restoring order, the examiner announces that the show must go on. Sparing the standout, he says only number 99 passed directly. Watching them leave, the blue-haired girl feels something is wrong. Remaining silent, she just watches the two walk away together. Arriving at their destination, the luxury car parks in a destroyed area. Getting out of the vehicle, Red tells the driver to wait outside. Trembling with fear, Kay recognizes the nightmarish scene. Looking at the pit, he remembers it's where he fell into the chemical waste. Investigating the area, Red comments on a recent incident there. Sharing the gossip, he says they found two pioneers without their colors. Citing reports, the redhead mentions a giant beast was seen in the area. Connecting the dots, he notes that Kay appeared right after all this. Deducing quickly, he mentions the strange power to absorb colors. Staring at the boy, Red states that this is something completely new. Panicking, Kay realizes the chief has already figured everything out. Thinking of running, our hero knows he'd be taken out in an instant. Laughing at his face, Red says he was just testing his nerves. Explaining his job, Red investigates unusual incidents. Mentioning the color black, he says it doesn't exist on the normal scale. Admiring the anomaly, the redhead notes that this power breaks the rules. Setting its instability, he knows Kay can't control it well yet. Surprising the boy, he hits the nail on the head about his lack of control. Looking around, Red decides to give a practical demonstration right there. Extending his hand, he invites the rookie for a real test. Offering his energy, he tells Kay to try and absorb a little. Warning the driver, Red tells him not to freak out. Getting serious, our hero decides to stop messing around and accept. Talking about the Inhumans, Red's tone shifts to something darker. Explaining the threat, he says there are monsters in human form. Revealing the secret, he says these beings threaten the great city. Looking Kay in the eyes, he warns that if the boy is one of them, threatening his life, Red guarantees he will end him right there if necessary. Agreeing to the test, he grabs the chief's arm to begin. Smiling nervously, Kay confirms if he'll really kick the bucket if he messes up. Activating the connection, a dense energy begins to swirl between them. Invading his body, the red power flows into the boy. His eyes widening, he feels an absurd heat burning everything. Screaming in agony, Kay can't handle the pressure of that aura. Losing control, he begs him to stop because he's frying. Noticing the problem, Red sees that the flow won't stop leaving him. Admiring the strength, Kay realizes a hero's power is infinite. Staying calm, the redhead lets the little monster eat more energy. Analyzing the risk, he knows this hunger is far too dangerous. Intrigued, Red decides to see how much the boy can take. Exploding in light, Kay's arm reaches a critical limit. Firing a blast, the accumulated power tears through the ground with force. Observing the trench, Red is impressed with the damage done. Being consumed, Kay's arm is covered in violent, black flames. Questioning his sanity, Red asks if he's still in control. Fighting against voices, the boy feels his mind being invaded by the power. Burning his skin, the energy tries to dominate his body by brute force. Growling in pain, he almost yields to the instincts of total destruction. Whispering desires, the aura asks him to unleash all his fury. Screaming in his mind, Kay orders that evil will to shut up. Dispersing the pressure, he manages to dissipate the excess red power. Observing the feat, Red notes that the boy regained control just in time. Panting exhausted, Kay feels like he escaped becoming a monster. Calming his spirit, he realizes the immediate danger has passed. Investigating his state, Red asks if his mind is still intact. Walking toward him, the chief confirms the dangerous test is over. Calling him by his number, the redhead breaks the tense silence of the place. Smiling in approval, Red congratulates the rookie on his incredible resistance. Agreeing with the boy, Red admits you have to risk it all. Approving the result, he says he's seen enough there. Changing the subject, the redhead reminds him that he's the chief investigator. Pointing to the suspect, he says Kay is the only survivor of the site. Recalling the incident, Red says many powerful people are keeping an eye on this. With a light threat, he warns that the city will hunt him down like a lab rat. Doubting his luck, the boy realizes he's in a dead end. Scared stiff, Kay thinks he'll end up captured and dissected alive. Offering salvation, Red proposes that he join his team. Accepting on the spot, the kid kneels, begging for the chief's help. Warning him of the rules, the redhead says he'll call in some favors later. Pledging loyalty, Kay agrees to do anything to get out of this jam. Grinning slyly, Red likes hearing he can ask for anything he wants. Traveling far, the truck crosses the desert of the Blacklands. Looking at the landscape, Kay can hardly believe his journey as a pioneer has begun. Complaining about the commotion, Gail tells the rookie to sit down and be quiet. Vibrating with anticipation, the swordsman says he was born for this mission. Accepting his fate, he comments that they're on the same team now. Looking out the window, the ice princess seems lost in thought. Questioning the invitation, Kay didn't expect to go to the unexplored area. Confirming the spot, Red says he saved a place just for him. Laughing at his expression, the chief tells the kid to relax a little. Showing the map, he explains that the rookies will go in a large group. Anticipating the announcement, Red says the details will be out soon. Setting the appointment, he demands that Kay arrive on time. Reinforcing the order, the redhead wants to see the boy at the meeting point. Entering the cabin, Kay finds his new colleagues already waiting. Remembering the mess, Red's intrusion changed the rules of the game. Giving another chance, the exam approved more strong people to compensate. Demanding a spot, Ellie personally asked to join Red's team. Grumbling under his breath, Gail can't accept being humiliated in the arena. Making excuses, he swears he only lost because he let his guard down. Threatening a rematch, the swordsman promises to finish Kay later. Offering consolation, the girl with glasses says he would have won. Bursting his bubble, the ice princess says he would have gone down again. Insulting his pride, she says Gail isn't on the boy's level. Declaring her priority, Ellie states she'll be the first to challenge him. Finding the conversation strange, Kay thinks he might get along with her. Confusing the facts, Ellie thinks they had already scheduled the fight. Telling him to shut up, the princess humiliates Gail without mercy. Creating a heavy atmosphere, the three fall into an awkward silence. Doubting the future, Kay doesn't know if this team will work out. Navigating in the dark, the ship sails toward the complete unknown. Arriving at the base, the group disembarks at the Cyan outpost. Impressed, Kay notices the difference in resources of an S rank. Feeling a touch, Kay is shaken from his distant thoughts. Smiling gently, Marie asks where his head was at. Supporting her friend, she says she had to see his debut up close. Popping his head out, Nero appears to say hi to his owner, thanking them for their help. Kay is relieved that they are okay. Excited about the chance, Marie says she'll prove her worth on the mission. The siren blaring, the command calls everyone for final formation. Announcing their departure, the leader says their entry into the Blacklands is now. Trusting her, Kay leaves the little cat in his friend's care. Worried about him, Marie asks him not to do anything crazy. Calming the critter, she tells Nero his owner will be back soon. Vanishing into thin air, the cat turns to smoke in her hands. Confused, Marie desperately looks for the animal. Diving into shadow, Nero stealthily returns to Kay's side. Her mind blown, Marie is in shock, unable to explain what just happened. Admiring the structure, the pioneers are speechless at the sight. Being there, Kay realizes the absurd size of that colossal structure. Preparing their equipment, the orange team announces they will enter the rift. Demanding focus, their leader says safety always comes first. Setting reports, she reminds them the place is full of monsters. Seeing the destruction, it's clear the creatures are no joke. Interrupting the briefing, a subordinate urgently calls for the chief. Reporting the problem, he says they've found strange signals. Revealing the intrusion, it seems someone entered without any permission. Surprised, the redhead can't believe someone would be that dumb. Setting the danger, they say the area is under the command of an S rank. Begging for help, the young man asks them to rescue the rookies in time. Crawling in the dark, a mysterious hand seeks support on the rocks. Arriving on site, Red and his team feel the atmosphere grow heavy. Doubting the safety, Kay asks if it's okay to go in there. Ensuring their safety, Red promises he won't let anyone perish. Smiling confidently, he reminds them the team has the best leader of all. Cutting the chit-chat, the redhead orders them to move out. Entering the cave, the group is welcomed by a horde of monsters. Roaring fiercely, one of the beasts tries to devour the intruders on the spot. Slicing the enemy, Ellie creates blades of ice with lethal precision. Landing stylishly, the girl feels the real weight of the Blacklands. Surrounded by eyes, she realizes training doesn't compare to this. Checking her weapon, Ellie knows she needs to conserve energy to survive. Planning her moves, the princess decides to fight smart. Watching her rival, she swears she won't fall behind the rookie. Striking up a conversation, Ellie decides to clear up a doubt that's bothering her. Finding his style strange, she asks why Kay doesn't use a sprite. Stuttering nervously, the boy tries to hide his obvious embarrassment. Admitting he's broke, Kay reveals he doesn't even have one. Complaining about the price, Kay says sprite weapons are for rich people. Shocked, Ellie and Gail can't believe what they just heard. Yelling in surprise, the swordsman asks if he's being serious. Explaining the logic, weapons like that are essential for using colors. Injecting the ink, the sprite amplifies power to defeat monsters. Remembering the arena, Gail realizes Kay fought bare-handed. Groaning in anger, the swordsman feels even more humiliated. Recalling the beatdown, he got pummeled by someone with no equipment. Cursing his own weakness, Gail realizes the absurd difference in their levels. Swearing revenge, he promises to smash Kay's face in one day. Observing the rivalry, Red finds it interesting to watch the geniuses clash. Smiling with satisfaction, he feels the mission is going to be fun. Encouraging the group, the chief says they're almost there. Promising a party, Red says they'll celebrate after work. Warning of danger, Ellie tells them not to let their guard down yet. Drinking from a vial, Gail replenishes the energy he spent in combat. Recognizing the item, Kay notes that it's custom ink. Worth a fortune, these tonics are tailor-made for one's color. Refined through alchemy, they say it greatly increases power. Envying the rich, Kay almost cries seeing them drink it like water. Hiding the pain, he pretends he doesn't need any of that anyway. Crouching down, Kay decides to absorb energy directly from the source. Sucking up the darkness, he begins to drain the black color from the environment. Startling his colleagues, Ellie and Gail see a dark aura emerge. Absorbing it all, the boy fills his tank for free and without any fuss. Feeling refreshed, Kay announces he's ready for the next round. Questioning his sanity, Ellie asks if he feels any side effects. Assuring her he's fine, Kay says he's done this plenty of times. Thinking it's crazy, Gail concludes the guy is completely nuts. Interrupting the chat, Red announces they've reached their final destination. Staring at the barrier, Kay finds the giant black dumb strange. Asking what it is, the boy feels a familiar energy. Revealing the reason, Red says he brought him here precisely for this. Demonstrating the problem, the chief charges a fireball in his hand. Firing it with force, he launches a red beam against the wall. Hitting the target, the impact makes the ground tremble with its power. Swallowing the attack, the barrier absorbs everything without a scratch. Explaining the mechanics, Red warns that brute force only makes it worse. Connecting the dots, he says it works just like K's power. Trusting his theory, the redhead bets the rookie can undo it. Pointing to the ruins, he reveals they are searching for the Stella fragments. Confused, Gail and Ellie have never heard that name before. Remaining silent, K seems to be hiding that he knows something. Saving it for later, Red says the Shining City needs this. Ordering him into action, he tells the boy to deal with the obstacle. Touching the wall, K feels the energy vibrate under his fingers. Pulling with all his might, he begins to absorb the black barrier. Forming a whirlpool, the boy swallows the giant structure. Admiring the scene, Red confirms he was right about the rookie. Slowly disappearing, the obstacle opens the way to the ruins. Foreseeing the prophet, the chief already imagines how much he'll use this power. Covering his ears, Gail complains that the vibration is unbearable. Fearing the worst, he warns that the noise will attract unwanted attention. Confirming his fear, roars echo from all directions. Baring their teeth, several beasts emerge from the total darkness. Sprouting from the ground, an army of shadows surrounds the intruders. Keeping her cool, Ellie notes that the reception is quite warm. Protecting the tank, Red tells the team to hold the line. Declaring war, he orders them to exterminate every single beast. Tearing through the wind, Gail charges forward, slicing the first few. Freezing the path, Ellie moves through the monsters without breaking a sweat. Watching motionless, Red considers helping only if necessary. Noticing the advantage, he realizes he doesn't need to do anything. Praising the team, he sees the kids can handle it. Grinning wickedly, the chief sees potential in these little geniuses. Spinning spheres of fire, Red maintains full control of the situation. Eating energy, K feels there's something strange about the barrier. Suspicious of the flow, he notices a power coming from somewhere else. Fearing he'll absorb too much, he feels the force trying to steal his color. Resisting the pressure, the boy realizes he's gotten stronger. Finishing the job, K lets out a sigh of relief that it's over. Looking at the hole, they all face the real entrance to the ruins. Descending into the depths, the darkness in that pit seems endless. Reporting his success, the rookie says the path is clear. Praising his work, Red confirms that his instincts were right. Taking the lead, Red tells the rookies to stay behind him. Looking around, they all notice a sudden, tense silence. Turning on the lights, the chief realizes the real threat has arrived. Feeling the ground shake, Gail asks what the heck is approaching. Cutting through the air, a giant tail emerges from the darkness of the pit. Cracking the floor, the beast destroys the terrain with a single blow. Backing away in fear, the team can barely see the monster's size. Commenting on the situation, Red admits things got complicated fast. Mentioning the black beast, he says the reports were real. Cursing his luck, the redhead complains the creature showed up now. Drawing his sword, he decides he can't mess around anymore. Revealing its form, a humanoid monster covered in weapons appears. Staring doom in the face, the rookies freeze before the enemy. Giving orders, Red tells the trio to get into the ruins immediately. Tossing a flashlight, he passes the search mission to K. Yelling orders, he accepts no arguments and kicks the kids inside. Staying behind, Red decides to hold off the monster alone at the entrance. Falling down the tunnel, the three slide to the bottom of the ancient structure. Landing in the dark, Gail complains about the crazy chief's rudeness. Turning on the lamp, K illuminates the place where they ended up. His eyes widening, he never expected to see an underground city. Observing the ruins, the destroyed buildings look otherworldly. Asking where they are, Ellie notes that this doesn't look natural. Exploring the environment, K smells a strong scent of something old. Commenting on the architecture, Gail finds it all very bizarre and modern. Remembering the mission, the boy says they need to find the fragments. Hearing noises, the three realize they aren't alone. Readying their weapons, they stay on high alert for surprises. Emerging from the shadows, small figures run among the rubble. Finding the place huge, K wonders how they'll find anything there. Observing the ruins, Gail comments in surprise about the buried ancient civilization. Replying to his friend, K reminds him they don't even know what they're looking for. Missing him, Gail says that Nero's nose would be a lifesaver right about now. Hearing a meow, K freezes, noticing a sound coming from inside his clothes. Leaping out, the little black cat appears out of nowhere, startling its own owner. Yelling in disbelief, Gail asks how on earth the critter got here. Eyes widening, Ellie stares at the creature, shocked by its sudden appearance. Breaking into a cold sweat, K thinks he's in deep trouble now that his secret is out. Thinking fast, he realizes he doesn't need to hide the little animal from them anymore. Accepting the fact, the boy sees it would be impossible to keep the cat hidden here. Seeing an opportunity, K decides to prove that Nero can be useful for the mission. Dropping the excuses, he decides to take the risk and use this to his advantage. Getting their attention, K asks the group to gather round and listen to his plan. Holding up the cat, he claims he's found a way to track the fragment. Doubting the proposal, The rest of the team listens to his explanation with suspicion. Ignoring the grumbling, Kay decides to show them his friend's value in practice. Holding Nero, he warns them their jaws are about to drop. Tossing the critter, Kay sends a cat flying, to everyone's surprise. Spinning in the air, the feline activates its power and begins to glow intensely, lighting up everything. The animal's light leaves Ellie and Gail speechless. Stunned, the swordsman never imagined seeing a pet with a special ability. Guiding the group, a luminous trail appears to show them the right path. Doubting reality, Gail comments that this is completely unprecedented. Asking about its origin, he wants to know where a rookie got such a relic. Confirming the scent, Kay asks if the little cat has found the fragment yet. Trusting the process, he knows Nero never fails when it comes to finding things. Detecting the prey, the cat's eyes gleam as it senses the energy nearby. Pointing to the location, the body of light stretches out, aiming for the ruins. Flying between buildings, the trail of energy shoots off at high speed. Getting the message, Kay announces that their objective is just ahead. Questioning the distance, Gail complains about how much further down they have to go. Taunting his rival, the swordsman tells anyone who's scared to stay behind. Ignoring the joke, Kay moves forward resolutely, saying he'll go first. Following the light, the trio crosses a wide, eerily silent corridor. Admiring the scale, Kay wonders what the purpose of this place was. Changing course, Nero makes a sharp turn toward a wall. Understanding the signal, the boy says the cat found something. The ground shaking, a heavy metal structure lands violently. Eyes widening, Kay is startled by the sudden noise. Kicking up dust, the giant silhouette reveals itself to the intruders. Joking about their luck, Gail comments that the critter found trouble instead. Screaming in shock, he asks what the heck that huge thing is. Finding its form strange, Kay notices it doesn't look like a normal monster. Its visor lighting up, the ancient machine awakens, ready for combat. Visualizing a code, Ellie notices strange numbers floating in the air. Analyzing the data, the machine projects a green code corresponding to Gail. Finding its behavior odd, the swordsman questions if it's reading their colors. Shifting focus, the robot turns its glowing visor toward the protagonist. Displaying the result, the system shows the dreaded code Black 000. Identifying the threat, the elimination protocol is activated immediately. Attacking without warning, the giant fires a blast of energy at them. Blocking the impact, Kay slides back, feeling the force of the blow. Cursing the cheap shot, he realizes the enemy launched a total sucker punch. Yelling indignantly, Gail can't believe the bucket of bolts resorted to violence. Wending up a punch, the robot advances, determined to crush the intruders. Stopping the blow, Kay catches the metal fist with his own bare hands. Grunting in pain, he notes this piece of junk is much stronger than it looks. Charging its core, the machine prepares a second attack at point-blank range. Coming in with a flying kick, Ellie hits the robot with a precise icy blow. Slashing from the side, Gail takes the opportunity to attack with his sword. Noticing the failure, Ellie sees their attacks didn't even scratch the metal. Understanding the logic, she realizes ice doesn't work well against machines. Warning the team, the girl yells for them to aim for the exposed energy core. Holding his ground, Gail tries to block the giant's heavy blows. Leaping back, Kay narrowly avoids being turned into paste on the floor. Dodging quickly, the boy notes that brute force won't solve anything. Twisting its torso, the robot tries to smash the protagonist against the wall. Cursing under his breath, Kay realizes he needs something stronger to win. Getting an idea, he decides to envelop his fist with that black aura. Concentrating the flow, Kay feels the dense power cover his right hand. Trusting the blow, the young man charges forward without fear of missing. Sliding along the mechanical arm, he advances straight for the weak point. Hitting it square on, Kay sinks his charged fist into the rust bucket's chest. The core bursting, the black energy corrodes the protection in an instant. Falling defeated, the robot's lights go out, and it collapses at his feet. Breathing a sigh of relief, they watch the smoking machine finally stop. Kicking the wreckage, Gail complains that the piece of junk was too much trouble. Noticing a glow, Kay finds something amidst the gray smoke. Analyzing the core, he notes the piece is very different from common ones. Questioning the attack, Ellie presses the boy about that strange black power. Dodging the question, Kay stammers, trying to hide his secret from his friends. Interrupting the interrogation, a heavy door opens on its own before them. Finding the phenomenon strange, Gail asks who the heck unlocked the passage. Dashing ahead, Nero enters the dark corridor without any fear. Calling for the cat, Kay runs after it so as not to lose sight of his guide. Pointing toward the back, he says there must be something valuable inside. Facing the portal, a liquid darkness blocks the group's path. Touching the surface, Kay feels the same energy as the previous barrier. Sucking everything in, the vortex swallows the three kids at once. Screaming desperately, they are pulled into the abyss, unable to resist. Falling into the void, the three scream as the darkness engulfs them. Vanishing into the fog, they plummet without knowing where they'll land. Trying to see something, Gail complains about the absolute darkness. Groping at nothing, he asks worriedly if everyone is okay. Panicking, Gail notices his color has completely vanished. Looking around, the trio realizes the world has lost its life. Revealing the landscape, a gray, dead city appears before them. Back at headquarters, the administration building is boiling over with problems. Slamming the table, the director explodes with anger over the situation. Yelling at his assistant, he demands to know Red's whereabouts. Complaining about the madness, he cites the danger of an S-rank mission. Fearing the worst, he can't believe Red went to an isolated zone. Remembering the past, he mentions that even monsters return injured from there. Continuing his rant, he states that Red can't just ignore the rules. Sipping her tea, a mysterious woman scoffs at his stress. Drinking her tea calmly, Captain Cavalier tells the director not to freak out. Defending Red's actions, she says taking the boy was a necessary gamble. Preaching confidence, the woman warns that fear will only get in the way right now. Making a face, Cavalier complains about the horrible, bitter taste of the drink. Maintaining a rigid posture, the director insists that breaking rules causes problems. Citing rumors, he warns that important figures are already eyeing this mess. Recalling the ancient terror, he talks about the sealing of the dreaded black contamination. Predicting the apocalypse, the man says the protective barrier won't last. Winking, the captain mentions that the boy with the black color might be the key. Breaking into a cold sweat, the director trembles just imagining the power of a god rank. Promising to cover their tracks, he picks up the rookie's file for a closer look. Staring at the photo, the man decides to monitor every step of this. Returning to the abyss. The three kids wake up in a lifeless world. Screaming in terror, Gail realizes all his colors have vanished out of nowhere. Pointing a finger, he notes that K is the only one who's still normal. Checking his own body, K sees the black color still holding on. Understanding the difference, he realizes the darkness doesn't affect him like the others. Trying to react, Gail forces his energy to create a guiding light. Failing to do so, the green glow dies, suffocated by the heavy atmosphere. Descending from the ceiling, creepy whispers begin to surround the three boys. Their eyes widening, they try to identify the source of those voices. Hearing laments, Ellie feels a chill as she recognizes someone's tone. Focusing his vision, Kay realizes the place is projecting nightmares. Emerging from the mist, a female silhouette walks toward the girl. Turning sharply, Kay senses a murderous intent coming from that shadow. Staring blankly, Ellie murmurs, calling for her lost mother. Falling into the trap, she reaches out her hand to touch the fake figure. Shouting a warning, Kay tells her it's a dangerous lie. Jumping in front, he protects his friend before the shadow can touch her. Tearing through the sky, a vortex of chaotic energy appears, spinning violently. Arising from the darkness, a monstrous silhouette dominates the horizon. Observing the abyss, distorted creatures emerge from absolute chaos. Staring into the void, evil eyes gleam in the deep darkness. Remembering the past, an old vision of a blue portal appears. Understanding the sham, Kay realizes the place projects real memories. Hearing insults, the voices of the past begin to curse relentlessly. Resisting the pressure, Kay sees his own aura react to the environment. Embracing the figure, he tries to hold on to what little humanity is left. Calling her name, Kay tries to break her hypnotic trance. Feeling the invasion, he fights to expel the voices from his head. Roaring with rage, Kay demands that the damned illusion stop now. Looking to the side, he sees that Gail has also fallen for the dirty trick. Being strangled, the swordsman relives a terrible trauma from his past. Realizing the danger, Kay notes his friends are trapped in a nightmare. Mowing loudly, Nero appears like a saving light in the total darkness. Smiling in relief, Kay thanks the heavens for his savior's return. Glowing brightly, Nero lets out a meow that pushes back the surrounding darkness. Creating a trail, the little cat traces a line of light to guide them. Reaching his friends, the sacred glow breaks the nightmare's trance. Leading the way, Nero shows he knows exactly where to go. Exploding in a white aura, the purifying power cleanses the evil environment. Waking up dazed, Ellie and Gail don't understand how they broke out of the trance. Getting their attention, Kay points to the light, saying they should follow it. Climbing the walls, the beam of light indicates a safe escape route. Facing the objective, the protagonist feels the exit is near. Trying to interfere, the shadows whisper insults to destabilize the boy. Cursing our hero, the voices say a colorless will never have any worth. Ignoring the insults, Kay focuses only on the small, distant star. Walking steadily, he advances resolutely toward the saving glow. His eyes widening, Kay finally sees what was hidden there. Recognizing the object, Kay realizes he's found the legendary Stella fragment. Admiring its glow, he notes that light is the only pure thing in this hell. Reaching out his arm, the boy decides to grab it to get out of the nightmare. Touching the sphere, a colorful energy explodes, illuminating the darkness. Glowing brightly, the fragment reacts to immediate contact with the protagonist. His eyes widening, Kay feels a strange vibration run through his body. Finding the sensation odd, he realizes this absorption is different from the others. The light intensifying, the object pulses if it has a life of its own. Dispelling the shadows, the black mist begins to retreat. Afraid of the glow, Revealing the scene, the abyss disappears, bringing them back to reality. Taking a deep breath, Kay announces the nightmare is finally over for them. Shocked, Ellie and Gail see their friend holding the source of the light. Showing off the prize, Kay shows that the fragment is harmless and very beautiful. Assuring them he's fine, he says he felt no pain at all holding it. Biting down hard, Nero swallows the entire fragment in one gulp. Turning pale with shock, Gail sees the cat swallow the treasure without chewing. Yelling desperately, Kay tries to make the critter spit out the relic now. In shock, the two stare as Nero glows with the fragment in his belly. Illuminating the room, the feline turns into a living lamp after its snack. Shaking the animal, Gail demands it return the valuable item immediately. Trembling violently, the temple begins to react to the theft of its core. Collapsing on them, the ceiling threatens to bury the group in rubble. Noticing the collapse, Kay yells for everyone to run as fast as they can. Dashing outside, the trio narrowly escapes being crushed in the ruins. Waiting at the exit, a horde of monsters surrounds the exhausted fugitives. Stepping over corpses, someone arrives, observing the massacre at the entrance. Analyzing the scene, the red-haired girl notes the battle was brutal. Impressed by the damage, she wonders what kind of monster did this. Deducing the culprit, she bets it was the work of that crazed maniac. Emerging from the smoke, Red appears, standing amidst the mountain of bodies. Arriving on site, the reinforcement team stares at the destruction left by the battle. Hearing a loud bang, the orange-haired woman turns, alarmed by the sound. Erupting from the ground, a pillar of flame violently breaks through the rocks. Shielding her face, the captain tries to understand who caused such damage. Yelling for medics, she orders the immediate rescue of any survivors. Appearing out of nowhere, blasts of black energy threaten to swallow the entire group. Focusing on the danger, the leader realizes she needs to act to save her men. Screaming a warning, she tells everyone to get down before the shockwave hits. Wielding her hammer, the warrior places herself in front of the imminent explosion. Spinning the weapon, she creates a shield of wind to block the devastating attack. Repelling the force, the impact of the blow makes the entire cave tremble. Seeing the dust settle, the woman notes the energy has finally dissipated. Commanding a retreat, she decides it's too dangerous to continue there now. Disagreeing with the order, the blue-haired guy says he's going to investigate the center. Leaping into the hole, he dives into the smoke, ignoring the chief's yells. Cracking the ground, the exchange of blows makes the entire cave vibrate. Locking weapons, the captain holds back the black blade with her hammer. Forcing the attack, the monster tries to crush the warrior's defense. Staring at the beast, she notices the pure insanity in the enemy's eyes. Cutting through the wind, the creature launches shadow claws at her. Exploding in light, the clash of energies illuminates the total darkness. Diverting its course, she throws the deadly charge to the side. Retreating quickly, the shadowy figure seeks space to counterattack. Watching intently, the orange-haired girl doesn't miss a single movement. Laughing at the situation, the monster seems to be enjoying the violence. Detonating the area, a fiery explosion sweeps across the battlefield. Landing firmly, the captain emerges from the destructive flames. Resisting the damage, the figure with two-toned hair remains standing. Taunting her rival, she asks if he thinks he dodged that. Laughing loudly, the maniac yells that it was the worst dodge she's ever seen. Smashing the ground, the captain unleashes a shockwave to push the enemy back. Sliding into the shadows, the villain retreats quickly, using the smoke. Landing far away, the creature watches the two heroes line up for the fight. Arriving in style, Red smiles, saying the show was about to start without him. Breathing a sigh of relief, the redhead admits the situation was getting ugly. Facing the pair, the monster realizes the numerical advantage has shifted. Growling low, it recognizes these humans are not ordinary prey. Devising a tactic, Red says her help will be useful against the minions. Mocking the chief, he says he got there before she destroyed the whole place. Gathering heat, the redhead prepares the ground for the final counter-attack. Slamming her hammer, the captain activates a magic circle, promising the beast's end. Remaining silent, the enemy just watches the preparation for the fatal blow. Smiling menacingly, he feels his goal is finally almost complete. Ignoring the threat, the monster murmurs that its body is ready now. Grabbing the edge, a hand emerges from the abyss, indicating Kay survived. Climbing up exhausted, Kay finally sets foot on solid ground with his friends. Taking a deep breath, Gail swears never to return to that underground hell. Noticing the scene, Kay realizes he's arrived in the middle of a tense confrontation. Turning quickly, Red sees the rookies appear at the worst possible time. Yelling orders, he tells the kids to run from there immediately. Ignoring the warning, the monster charges toward the new victims. Vanishing into thin air, the creature moves faster than the eye can see. Injecting their ink, Gail and Ellie try to activate their weapons in pure panic. Firing their power, the two aim at the mortally approaching figure. Blocking the attack, the enemy deflects the blows as if they were flies. Breaking their defenses, he disarms the pair with a single, precise move. Falling defeated, Gail and Ellie are thrown far away by the impact. Advancing on the target, the monster focuses on the protagonist standing there. Cutting through the air, the black blade descends, aiming for our hero's neck. Taking the blow, Kay feels the pain tear through his shoulder violently. Screaming in terror, Ellie sees her friend thrown far by the brutal impact. Falling defeated, Gail and the girl pass out with no chance to react. Imposing its strength, the monster walks among the bodies with total contempt. Judging the race, it says humans are fragile and unworthy of life. Losing patience, the beast decides to end this nonsense quickly. Boiling with rage, Red watches everything with a bloodthirsty, cruel gaze. Thrown to the ground, Kay remains silent, seemingly lifeless. Exploding in flames, the redhead unleashes his murderous aura to retaliate. Promising revenge, Red warns he's going to turn the villain to dust. Moving his hand, Kay shows a sign of life defying expectations. Finding it strange, the monster notices a life force growing there. Cursing her opponent, the captain prepares her final blow with the hammer. Interrupting the action, she realizes something strange is happening to the boy. Rising out of nowhere, Kay appears behind the enemy, bathed in darkness. Eyes widening, the villain feels true terror for the first time. Getting up from the ground, Kay emanates a murderous pressure that chills the spine. Overflowing with darkness, his body is swallowed by a dense blackness. Doubting his vision, the monster doesn't understand how the boy is still alive. Questioning logic, the beast senses real danger coming from that aura. Noticing the similarity, the villain realizes the human is using the forbidden color. Clenching his fist, Kay concentrates the black power for the final attack. Swirling the energy, a furious vortex forms around the protagonist. Eyes widening, the enemy feels a deadly chill run through its body. Leaping back, the creature tries to create distance from this new threat. Perplexed, Red and the captain can't believe what they're seeing. Appearing at its back, Kay materializes in the blink of an eye behind his oppressor. Grabbing its shoulder, he pins the monster with crushing force. Yelling to the group, the redhead tells them to rescue the injured quickly. Fearing the worst, Red suspects the boy has lost all control. Imagining the nightmare, he thinks Kay has become a monster of the Black Hands. Feeling its life drain away, the creature notices its existence being sucked out. Remembering her, the monster compares the boy's energy to the woman's. Discovering the truth, it states that Kay is the key it was searching for. Biting into flesh, shadows in the form of mouths attack the villain mercilessly. Surrounded by teeth, it tries to get free of those dark jaws. Spinning its staff, the enemy seeks breathing room in the chaos. Clashing attacks, beams of light cut through the cave's darkness. Admitting its mistake, the beast sees it underestimated the target's danger. Changing tactics, it decides to take just pieces of the boy. Aiming for his limbs, the monster advances to mutilate the protagonist. Tearing through the wind, blades of energy fly to slice our hero. Awaiting the impact, the villain smiles, believing he's won the fight. Eyes widening, he sees his strongest blow being stopped in its tracks. Failing completely, the attack doesn't even leave a scratch on his skin. Catching the blade, Kay blocks the deadly weapon with his bare hand. Trying to pull, the monster finds the sword is stuck like a rock. Leaping back, it decides to create distance before it's too late. Lamenting the end, the creature realizes its mission has failed badly. Shouting a warning, someone tells it to look ahead now. Hitting him square on, the captain flies in with a devastating blow. Declaring the sentence, the redhead announces his time has come. Exploding with energy, her hammer collides with the monster's defense. Blocking the impact, the villain feels its bones crack from the force. Groaning in pain, it admits the situation has become too dangerous. Planning its escape, the beast decides to retreat since it found the key. Turning its back, it runs into the shadows, trying to disappear. Mocking its cowardice, the captain shouts, calling the enemy a chicken. Taunting the fugitive, she says running now is just too pathetic. Blocking the path, Red appears, cutting off its escape route. Asking where it's going, the redhead warns that no one leaves here alive. Wielding his sword, Red unleashes a colossal blast of red energy. Rising to the heavens, the pillar of fire illuminates the cave like a volcano. Incinerating everything, the surrounding area melts from the absurd heat. Trying to resist, the monster raises a weak barrier of shadows. Taking the impact, it feels its skin burn under the infernal pressure. Cursing in pain, the beast realizes it can't win against that brute force. Quickening its pace, it decides that running is the only option left. Leaping into the fire, the villain crosses the flames, risking its own life. Asking in disbelief, Red watches the enemy dive into the red inferno. Yelling in hatred, the monster promises this isn't how it will end. Escaping by a hair, it vanishes, leaving only the echo of its threat. Cracking the ceiling, the force of the blow opens a huge hole in the rock. Vanishing into the darkness, the creature disappears completely from their sight. Commenting on the escape, the captain ironically praises the creature's persistence. Sheathing his weapon, Red laments letting such good prey get away. Complaining about the atmosphere, Red says he hates fighting in this stuffy place. Looking at the hole, he notes the darkness helped it escape again. Apologizing for the delay, the captain says sorry for taking so long. Comforting her friend, Ellie says the important thing is they made it out alive. Getting serious, Red realizes Kay is still standing in the back. Doubting his sanity, he wonders if the boy is still conscious. Asking the obvious. Ellie wants to know what they're going to do with their friend now. Analyzing the aura, Red notes his power is fluctuating dangerously. The darkness dissipating, the black energy begins to peel off his body. Calling his name, the girl shouts, trying to wake the protagonist up. Falling to his knees, Kay collapses, exhausted after spending everything he had. Losing his color, his hair returns to the original white of the colorless. Falling silent, the group watches in shock at the revelation of his true form. Asking, confused, the captain doesn't understand what he really is. Looking down from above, Red stares at the unconscious boy with an unreadable expression. Feeling his skin burn, the monster groans in pain from its open wounds. Clutching its body, it tries to endure the damage caused by the fire. Falling silent, the villain catches its breath in the darkness. Hearing a voice, someone scoffs, asking who got there first. Mocking its appearance, the newcomer asks who gave it such a beating. Recognizing the visitor, the monster complains that she always meddles. Emerging from the shadows, Viper appears, accompanied by her identical copies. Laughing at its misfortune, she wants to gossip about the fight against the legendary Red. Analyzing the ground, the girl notices the scorch marks left behind. Deducing quickly, she's impressed he survived the redhead monster. Telling her to shut up, the villain demands she get out of his face. Remembering the terror, he admits that human strength is absurd. Changing the subject, Viper asks about the opening of the witch's tomb. Smiling maliciously, she realizes he knows the secret of the seal. Refusing to talk, the monster hides the identity of the key it found. Declaring ownership, the monster says it will take the treasure for itself. Getting curious, Viper watches her partner walk away with his secrets. Giving an order to her copies, she sends the shadows to investigate what happened. Planning her mischief, she decides to find out what broke the forbidden seal. Suspecting the humans, Viper finds it interesting that someone from the city is involved. Laughing to herself, she can't wait to confirm her crazy theories. Appearing imposingly, the silhouette of the giant beast rises against the black sky. Preparing to attack, it feels it's time to start the real massacre. Returning to the city, the daylight illuminates the quiet hospital. Looking out the window, Red reflects on the failure of the recent mission. Remembering his promise, he feels the weight of having failed to protect them. Admitting his guilt, the redhead knows he almost lost the rookies in there. Staring at the bed, Red looks at the unconscious boy with concern. Checking the clock, he sees that time is passing way too quickly. Praising his resilience, the chief admits that Kay is a tough nut to crack. Promising to do better, Red swears that next time, no one will slow the group down. Panicking, Marie doesn't understand why so many important people are there. Admiring the heroes, she almost faints seeing the most famous colorist in the city. Remembering the scare, she says she was terrified when she saw Kay arrive injured. Complaining to herself, Marie tells her friend to wake up from that bed already. Calling her name, Red approaches the girl to clear up a doubt. Confirming her identity, Marie stammers nervously near the living legend. Reassuring the girl, he says Kay will be fine soon. Asking about the cat, Red wants to know where little Nero has gone. His eyes widening, Gail sees a shadow move in the corner of the room. Pointing excitedly, he yells that the critter is hiding under the sheet. Looking innocent, Nero emerges with "Who me?" expression. Accusing the thief, Gail says it was this cat that swallowed the fragment. Complaining about its disappearance, the swordsman says it was hard to explain the loss of the item. Trying to catch the critter, Gail leaps onto the bed, narrowly missing his target. Fleeing to her lap, the little cat seeks protection in Marie's arms. Defending the pet, the girl says she'll take good care of him. Petting Nero, she promises no one will hurt the cute little thing. Watching the scene, Red feels a strange sensation coming from the animal. Opening its mouth, the cat spits out the glowing fragment as if it were nothing. Glowing brightly, the sphere's light floods the hospital room. Surprised, everyone watches the relic come out whole from inside him. Taking the object, Red can hardly believe he recovered the legendary piece. Admiring the treasure, he realizes all the sacrifice was worth it. Remembering the fallen, Red knows the price paid was far too high. Screaming in a nightmare, Kay relives the fatal moment of the battle against the shadows. Feeling the fear, he thinks he needs to save his friends from certain doom. Waking up with a start, the boy sits up in bed, sweating and panting. Looking around, Kay tries to figure out where on earth he is now. Noticing the calm, he realizes the danger has long passed. Looking around, Kay wonders where he is, seeing everyone gathered. Checking his body, he freezes, noticing he's back to being a colorless. Breaking into a cold sweat, Kay thinks he'll be kicked out now that the jig is up. Imagining the worst, he trembles just thinking about being thrown out. Raising his voice, Red orders the boy to lift his head immediately. Questioning his fear, the chief asks why he has that guilty look on his face. Ignoring his color, Red says he couldn't care less about his appearance. Showing him the prize, He states that the boy completed the mission perfectly. Making it official, Red welcomes the new member to the team. Speechless, K feels he has finally found his place. Smiling in relief, he accepts the invitation with the greatest joy in the world. Saying their goodbyes, Red announces he'll let the young ones talk alone. Taking the fragment, he says he has a meeting with the Great Lord. Closing the door, silence fills the room, making K tense. Questioning her friend, Ellie wants to know if he remembers what happened afterward. Searching his clothes, K says he came prepared to get his color back. Pulling out a bottle, he reveals his stock of black ink from the sewer. Showing the goo, he says he filled the jar in the disposal pit. Complaining about the grossness, Ellie warns him that it's poison, not a drink. Chugging the bottle, K downs the black liquid without any fuss. Watching the reaction, the group sees the magic happen before their eyes. Changing its shade, the white hair turns dark as night again. His energy recovered, K announces he's ready for another battle. Feeling queasy, Gail says that back where he's from, they use that stuff for fertilizer. Cutting the chat short, the protagonist decides to head out to take care of some things. Blocking the exit, the swordsman stops his friend with a serious look. Analyzing his body, he notices the boy's arm is intact. Finding it strange, Gail knows physical regeneration is a rare thing. Cornering the boy, he demands an immediate answer, looking him in the eyes. Yelling the accusation, he furiously asks who stole his milk. Scratching the back of his neck, K tries to come up with the perfect excuse. Lying through his teeth, he says his instinct warned him of the danger. Grabbing his neck, Gail loses his patience with his friend stalling. Shaking him hard, he yells, asking who asked to be saved. Confessing his hatred, the swordsman says he can't stand owing anyone a favor. Confused by the conversation, K doesn't understand what all the fuss is about. Breaking up the argument, Marie tells the Hothid to let the boy go. Turning his face away, Gail huffs in irritation but obeys the girl's order. Massaging his neck, K appreciates their twisted way of showing concern. As they leave, the group decides to exit the hospital before they fight again. Saying he'll go with them, K announces he's all better and ready to leave. Postponing it, he puts off the rematch against the annoying swordsman. Calling the two over, the protagonist asks for a moment of their serious attention. Being mysterious, he says he has something incredible to show them. Recalling the battle, K reveals he took down that giant robot all by himself. Handing her the gift, K says he saved the core thinking of her. Presenting the item, he shows her the piece that powered the deadly machine. Her eyes widening, Marie is mesmerized by the technological treasure. Analyzing the piece, she trembles with excitement touching something so rare. Walking alone, Red enters the great sacred hall of the city. Smiling with satisfaction, he feels the mission's success vibrating in the air. Illuminating everything, a divine light fills the gigantic space. Bowing to his leader, Red approaches the throne with total respect. Announcing his arrival, he says he's finally brought good news. Receiving his subordinate, a soft voice echoes, welcoming him. Reporting the deed, Red says the veil of the Black Witch has been broken. Addressing his master, he refers to the shining being as Lord Luminous. Working like crazy, Marie disassembles the core in her private workshop. Praising the design, she's never seen such advanced technology. Explaining its function, she says it uses ink as pure fuel. Confirming her theory, Marie says that piece is worth more than the entire city. Smiling at him, the girl guarantees she'll uncover all the core's secrets. Daydreaming, she imagines the mountain of lost technology hidden inside. Asking for permission, Marie begs to take apart the new toy right now. Doubting the offer, the inventor questions if he's really giving an S-rank item to her. Promising the impossible, she swears she'll create the perfect weapon exclusively for K. Calling the cat, the protagonist decides to leave and let the genius work in peace. Stopping him at the exit, Marie asks him to wait a second at the door. Thanking him shyly, she's touched that he would trust her with something so valuable. Remembering the past, Marie's mind flashes back to the dark days of loneliness. Crying on the floor, the little girl begged not to be discarded like useless trash. Appearing before her, a mysterious man in glasses showed up to change her fate. Extending a hand, he offered her a home when no one else cared about her. Her strength renewed, the girl decides she will honor the chance she received today. Walking thoughtfully, Kay feels that object shouldn't be with him. Walking through the slum, Kay notices the growing tension among the locals. Quickening his pace, he decides to find the team before something bad happens. Pausing for a moment, Kay feels the atmosphere in the city has changed drastically. Hearing the rumors, people are talking fearfully about the guards' actions. Spreading terror, they say people are being arrested for no good reason. Predicting chaos, the civilians think a war is about to break out. Turning his head, Kay notices someone calling him from a dark alley. Looking into the darkness, he hears the voice ask him to approach slowly. Insisting on the invitation, the figure assures him there's nothing to fear. Scoffing at the act, Kay laughs at the monster's ridiculous performance. Exposing the sham, he points out the disgusting tentacles coming out of its clothes. Understanding the plan, Kay knows they came to hunt for his special body. Ignoring the fear, he prepares to crush this pathetic threat. Feeling a pressure, Kay spins around quickly, sensing something much stronger. Blinding his vision, a rainbow-colored light appears, revealing someone unexpected. Hesitating, Kay feels there's no turning back if he crosses through the portal. Stepping into the light, he is transported to a place beyond reality. Blindingly bright, the intense glow reveals a female silhouette. Walking toward him, the woman displays a colorful and divine aura. Asking confused, Kay tries to find out who is the source of that pressure. Smiling gently, the lady asks him to calm himself in her presence. Revealing her identity, she introduces herself as Galaxia, the High Saint. Stunned, Kay stares at the living legend right in front of him. Greeting her guest, she says she has been eagerly awaiting the Son of Black. Extending a hand, Galaxia shows a suspiciously perfect hospitality. Invading his mind, distorted voices begin to whisper in his ear. Asking in the dark, the echoes question if he can see the invisible. Sensing danger, Kay notices the light is hiding something rotten underneath. Reading the warning, the word, invisible, floats in the air like a threat. In shock, he perceives the presence of a hidden intruder. Glowing intensely, the saint welcomes the boy with a divine and warm smile. Whispering in the air, that hidden voice once again taunts our protagonist from the darkness. Searching for the source, Kay desperately tries to understand who is invading his mind right now. Finding his behavior odd, Galaxia notes with confusion that he's reacting to something she didn't do. Denying authorship, she states with curiosity that she hasn't cast any kind of spell on him. Citing his origin, the woman seriously mentions that his black lineage is a huge problem. Revealing the plot, she says the city's leadership wanted to see him eliminated immediately. Interfering with the plan, the saint proudly says she prevented his execution of her own will. Explaining her reason, she firmly believes his power is essential to save the future. Offering a deal, Galaxia proposes to protect and hide his existence from the rest of the world. Considering the proposal, Kay listens intently, realizing the situation is much more complex. Suggesting the solution, she confidently says her white power can mask his black color. Extending her blessing, the woman prepares a sacred spell to seal his secret for good. Engulfing the young man, a warm, blinding light begins to completely cover Kay's body. Immediately suspicious, the boy notes this whole spell sounds like cult, like brainwashing. Disturbed by the noise, Kay tries to ignore the voices screaming in his mind. Explaining the situation, Galaxia reinforces that she saved his life from the leaders. Admitting her interest, she confesses she needs him for a bigger plan. Recalling the past, the saint says she's never seen an energy like his. Holding the treasure, Kay presents the famous, glowing Stella fragment. Observing the light, she comments that it's strange for the item to react that way. On high alert, our hero realizes he's in the presence of someone dangerous. Citing the past, Galaxia talks about the ancient seal of the terrible Black Witch. Explaining the barrier, she says no one has been able to open it until today. Receiving the bombshell, Kay discovers that only the witch herself has the real key. Glowing in the dark, the fragment reveals its connection to the forces of darkness. Remembering the terror, images of the black hands flash in the young man's mind. Connecting the dots, he suspects she knows about the shadow monsters. Noticing his silence, Galaxia realizes he's hiding something from her. Smiling mysteriously, the woman decides not to press the boy for now. Explaining the plan, Galaxia announces she will use the fragment right now. Covering the horizon, the darkness of the Blacklands threatens the city from afar. Shining like the sun, the sacred palace begins to accumulate a brutal amount of energy. Touching the relic, the saint decides to show what she's really capable of. Releasing the charge, a blinding light violently explodes from her hands. Tearing through the skies, a rainbow pillar shoots up, piercing the clouds. Hitting the ground, the divine blast collides with the darkness with full force. Watching from the sidelines, Kay feels like an ant in the face of that power. Doubting his vision, he can hardly believe the darkness is being defeated. Retreating in fear, the Blacklands begin to be pushed back. Spreading the news, the newspapers print the bombshell headline instantly. Yelling in the streets, a boy announces that the border is being retaken. Celebrating the news, the people read about the miracle that just happened. Praising their leader, the citizens thank the great saint for her protection. Illuminating the city, hope is reborn with the victory over the shadows. Celebrating the achievement, the pioneers are thrilled with the chance to explore new lands. Planning for the future, the leaders discuss how they will exploit the resources there. Spying from afar, a hooded figure observes the commotion in the city. Returning to the topic, Galaxia asks if he understood the fragment's power. Explaining its strength, she says that light is just the beginning of its potential. Warning the boy, the saint says the Black Hands will come after his inheritance. Promising security, she guarantees she will prevent any attack against him. Lamenting the situation, Galaxia reveals the city is consuming everything it has. Showing vulnerability, the woman admits her powers are running out. Giving a piece of advice, she suggests Kay be careful about who he hangs out with. Ending the meeting, the saint says he needs to return to reality now. Disappearing in the light, she leaves one last enigmatic smile for the young man. Waking up dazed, Kei gets up, trying to process everything he heard in the vision. Scratching his head, he wonders what he should do with so much heavy information. Remembering his duty, Kei realizes Mary is swamped with problems to solve. Counting his coins, Kei celebrates a rare moment of free time amidst all the chaos. Choosing his destination, he walks decisively through the bustling streets to the central guild. Admiring the facade, the imposing pioneer building stands out in the middle of the city. Laughing nervously, he confesses he never thought he'd be allowed inside. Remembering the trauma, Kei knows that back when he was colorless, he couldn't even step on the sidewalk. Adjusting his cloak, he holds his head high, ready to enter as a legitimate pioneer. Crossing the hall, he notices he's become the center of everyone's attention. Pointing discreetly, the other pioneers gossip about the legendary Black Wielder. Feeling fear, some compare his aura to the villains they saw on the news. Doubting his ability, they question what Red saw in this kid. Looking through a window, a red-haired young man analyzes the rookie with curiosity. Scoffing at the rumors, he comments to his team that he expected someone much older. Asking for the truth, he questions Reniel, who was present on the desert mission. Getting serious, the girl with glasses admits his fame is totally justified. Recalling the terror, she says she felt an evil vibration coming from that power. Smiling with amusement, an observer comments that the famous rookie has arrived. Walking through the hall, Kei realizes everyone knows exactly who he is. Greeting the boy, the clerk asks if he's opening a new account. Signing the papers, Kei gets his provisional license with restrained pride. Judging his appearance, the veterans stare with contempt at his black color. Talking at the next table, a team discusses their next big mission. Questioning the plan, someone asks what their real objective is. Standing up annoyed, the group's leader cuts the chat right there. Confirming the goal, he says they aren't there to play hero. Criticizing his look, the guy comments that looking at Black hurts his eyes. Despising the boy, he says he's not a fan of the type Red described. Remembering the warning, he hates people who use talent as a crutch. Turning his back, the veteran decides to ignore the existence of that trash. Focusing on the job, he calls the team's attention to the real briefing. Showing the target, the image of the Blacklands appears as their next destination. Holding the stone, Kei is thrilled to find more valuable ore. Piling it up, he's never seen so much wealth accumulated at once. Remembering their scarcity, these colored ores are worth a fortune on the market. Imagining her reaction, Kei knows his friend Marie will flip out over the profit. Activating his vision, he realizes his special eyes have changed the game. Seeing in the dark, the resources shine like stars in the total blackness. Teasing his partner, he says the cat is going to end up unemployed. Finishing early, our hero decides to kill some time to avoid drawing attention on his way back. Using the time, he resolves to train the control of his new powers. Remembering the danger, Kei knows the ink drain is far too unstable. Focusing on his hand, he needs to master this hunger before it masters him. Admiring the glow, Kei evaluates a blue stone that seems very valuable. Sucking its color, the boy's black energy attacks the ore without warning. Panicking, he watches the money turn to dust in his uncontrolled hand. Lamenting the loss, Kei admits that at least he understood how it works. Reflecting on the theory, Kei thinks about how the saint manipulated the colors in him. Understanding the logic, he concludes that black is just the mix of everything. Questioning the future, he wonders if she could cure him for good. Remembering the phrase, the instruction to use all the colors echoes in his mind. Realizing the time, Kei decides it's time to head back to base. Reacting in his pocket, Red's mysterious box begins to vibrate on its own. Holding the object, he feels a dense, red energy pulsing from it. Exploding in light, the item glows brightly, startling the unprepared boy. Running ahead, Nero seems to have sniffed out something interesting in the shadows. Observing the horizon, Kei notes the darkness of that place is infinite. Carrying the sack, he thinks maybe he overdid it with today's collection. Seeing the lights, he realizes people are approaching on the path. Emerging from the darkness, a group that looks like Red's team appears with a very heavy aura. With a deadly threat, the redhead says with a smile that he'll take out anyone who disobeys. Confused, Kei doesn't understand what kind of crazy talk that is. Yelling impatiently, the looters tell the boy to get a move on. Finding their rudeness strange, Kei stares at the group without backing down. Questioning their identity, he asks who these guys are. Coveting the treasure, the thieves notice the sack full of ore. Mocking their luck, they claim a rookie is easy prey. Grinning greedily, the red-haired leader compliments the size of the haul, threatening to steal it. He says he's taking the whole valuable load. Surrounding the boy, the gang demands he hand over the resources immediately. Drawing his weapon, Kei coldly warns them that it'll be their own fault. Laughing at the threat, one of the goons advances, thinking he's weak. Taunting the boy, the guy asks if he's sleeping on his feet. Cutting through the wind, A figure passes through the enemy at an insane speed. His eyes widening, the bandit feels the impact before he sees the blow. Perplexed, the gang leader watches his man fall defeated. Appearing behind them, K poses victoriously, sending everyone into a panic. Yelling in anger, the bandit demands to know what he did to his friend. Sighing deeply, K says he has no time to waste on trash. Rushing with a knife, the guy attacks the protagonist, full of hatred. Dodging the slash, K moves past the blade as if it were nothing. Connecting the punch, he lands a brutal straight right to the enemy's face. Cracking the wall, the impact sends the poor guy flying. Roaring furiously, the big guy decides to crush the boy with his fists. Throwing his weight, he delivers a punch capable of easily breaking bones. Catching the fist, K stops the devastating attack with his open palm. Breaking his posture, he counterattacks with a precise kick to the stomach. Losing his breath, the brute is thrown backward with full force. Advancing on the figure, K pursues the victim before he hits the ground. Sinking into the ground, he violently buries his opponent in the dirt. Looking at the fallen, he warns that greed always comes at a high price. Focusing on the leader, K smiles, saying now it's just him left. Facing the boss, K realizes the leader won't give up so easily. Firing without warning, the guy shoots an explosive projectile at him. Hearing the blast, K leaps away, avoiding being turned to dust. Analyzing the weapon, he notes the enemy has a long-range sprite. Its barrel smoking, the pistol is revealed to be a modified and dangerous weapon. Laughing loudly, the redhead is amused by the feisty kid's agility. Cursing his aim, he complains he almost landed a critical hit. Bragging, the bandit says he used to be an elite mercenary. Revealing the secret, he claims he recognized the legendary black suit. Planning his profit, the boss decides to take out the boy and steal everything. Yelling his sentence, he warns that in the Blacklands, there are no laws. Pulling the trigger, a shower of red lasers covers the corridor. Dodging quickly, K dances between the deadly beams with precision. Grazing his skin, the shots violently explode the scenery around him. Rolling on the ground, our hero looks for an opening to counter-attack. Closing the distance, K goes for close combat without fear. Delivering rapid punches, he doesn't let the shooter breathe for a second. Growling with hatred, the bandit curses the boy for being so persistent. Yelling to push him back, the guy fires the cannon at his own feet. Exploding the ground, a barrier of red spikes throws K far away. Landing surprised, he questions what kind of ammunition does that. Observing the crystals, K notes the floor has become a trap. Revealing his trump card, the redhead says his color crystallizes ore. Bragging about his source, he guarantees he can create bullets forever. Belittling his opponent, he says the black color is no match. Firing relentlessly, a storm of sharp rubies cuts through the air. Recognizing his strength, K estimates the enemy must be B rank. Hesitating to absorb, he fears his defense won't withstand the impact. Remembering the pain, K knows he can't take a direct hit. Thinking of a strategy, he's grabbed by surprise by the brute. His eyes widening, K finds himself caught in the persistent brute's trap. Watching from afar, the redhead readies his weapon, waiting for the perfect chance to strike. Yelling to let go, the boy tries to break free from the enemy's bare hug. Taking kicks to the face, the goon holds on tight and tells his boss to shoot. Seizing the opportunity, the leader aims with a smile, ready to blow them both up. Pulling the trigger, he unleashes the full charge, yelling it's the end of the line. Facing his end, K sees the projectile coming too fast to dodge. Tearing up the ground, the explosion kicks up a dense cloud of debris and smoke. Praising the shot, the shooter celebrates, thinking the problem has been eliminated. Emerging from the dust, a boot plants firmly on the ground, showing the fight isn't over. Coming out unscathed, K remains standing in the center of the impact, to everyone's shock. Doubting his vision, the redhead feels a cold sweat as he sees the boy alive. Asking what happened, the villain stammers, not understanding the monster's resilience. Complaining about the scare, K walks toward him, his face covered in soot. Explaining the trick, he says he absorbed the energy or he would have been mincemeat. Refusing to accept reality, the bandit swears he landed a fatal shot to the head. Panicking, he unloads the weapon, screaming for the monster to perish. Ignoring the shots, K calmly advances through the storm of bullets. Taunting his enemy, he asks if the infinite ammo is running out already. Mocking his power, K questions where all that arrogant pride went. Activating his technique, the boy summons the black veil, covering his chest in darkness. Trembling with terror, the villain realizes his attacks have no effect. Announcing the turnaround, K says it's his turn to start hitting back. Retreating in fear, the shooter sees the situation has gotten out of his control. Analyzing the defense, K notes that absorbing the impact made the shots useless. Nullifying the damage, the bullets simply vanish upon touching the dark aura. Devising a plan, he decides he needs to deal with that annoying weapon. Getting an unusual idea, K resolves to try imitating his rival's ability. Concentrating the energy, he molds the shadows in the palm of his right hand. Creating a black spear, K surprises the bandit with his new deadly weapon. Celebrating the feat, K smiles, seeing his copy worked perfectly. Remembering his fights, he admits he's always relied only on his bare fists. Gripping the spear, he explains he learned the technique by absorbing the energy. Thanking him for the lesson, the boy ironically says the enemy was very helpful. Leaping into the air, K prepares a heavy attack with his newly created weapon. Smashing the ground, the spear's impact forces the bandit to retreat with difficulty. Firing furiously, the redhead unloads the pistol, trying to finish the kid. Blocking the shots, K uses the spear itself as an indestructible shield. Ignoring the damage, he says with boredom that it won't work anymore. Inviting him to train, K decides to use the villain as a punching bag. Destroying everything, he advances with brutal blows, breaking the enemy's defense. Exploding the rocks, the force of the black attack sweeps the surrounding terrain. Doubting reality, the bandit is in shock seeing his power copied. Recognizing the technique, he realizes the boy stole his exact moves. Changing its form, K decides to test another shape with the dark energy. Turning it into a scythe, K prepares a sideways slash aimed at his rival's neck. Blocking the blow, the bandit uses his giant pistol as a final shield. His eyes widening, he feels the weapon being sliced in half in an instant. Falling to the ground, the pieces of the pistol show the fight is over. Speechless, the redhead can't believe his special sprite was destroyed. Trembling with fear, he realizes the boy broke it with pure strength. Questioning his race, the villain asks what kind of monster K really is. Cursing the anomaly, he yells that it's not normal for a human. Facing his prey, K unleashes his black aura, making it clear who's in charge. Asking with boredom, he wants to know where the bandit leader is. Taunting the runner, the boy points out that he's unarmed now, calling him to fight. K challenges his opponent to come at him bare-handed. Refusing defeat, the redhead swears he still has cards up his sleeve. Yelling furiously, he says he's a B rank for a good reason. Activating his power, giant red crystals sprout from the ground around him. Vowing to take him out, the redhead charges into physical combat without a second thought. Leaping into the air, he molds the crystals on his back like deadly wings. Firing the projectiles, a shower of red needles flies toward the target. Blocking calmly, K creates an impenetrable black shield in front of him. Exploding on impact, the needles turn to dust upon touching the absolute defense. Advancing through the smoke, K walks through the bombardment without a scratch. Emerging from the shadows, he appears in front of the villain like an avenging ghost. Delivering the blow, the black spear easily pierces the crystal barrier. Cracking the defense, the attack destroys the bandit's improvised armor. His eyes widening, the redhead feels terror as he sees the fist coming. Hitting him in the stomach, K sinks his punch, making the enemy spit blood. Groaning in pain, the boss buckles at the knees, feeling his body give way. Grabbing his collar, K lifts the guy up like a rag doll. Staring into his eyes, he asks if the tough guy has lost his nerve. Tossing him far, K throws the trash against the stone wall with full force. Coughing up blood, the bandit tries to get up, trembling all over. Taunting the fallen man, K asks if he's done with his ridiculous little show. Complaining about the delay, the boy says he hates wasting time on weaklings. Murmuring in disbelief, the villain doesn't understand how a rookie has so much power. Doubting logic, he knows a normal human couldn't do that. Calling him a monster, the guy accuses K of being a living aberration. Yelling with disgust, he says being born with black is a mortal sin. Stating the obvious, the bandit swears his energy is evil. Questioning his sanity, he asks if K doesn't feel the weight of darkness in his body. Remembering the past, images of his lonely childhood flood the young man's mind. Accusing him mercilessly, the redhead yells that he's just a monster disguised as a person. Denying his humanity, he claims K was never a real person. Remaining silent, the protagonist just stares at the fear in his eyes. Feeling the terror, the bandit sees the boy's shadow grow and swallow everything. His eyes widening, he realizes he has provoked the wrath of something much worse. Staring into his soul, K looks at him with a cold contempt that freezes the blood. Trembling all over, the redhead feels dread completely take over his body. Laughing at his fear, K finds the loser's desperate speech amusing. Grabbing his neck, he remembers how brave the guy was before. Choking the bandit, K tightens his grip, watching the air leave his lungs. Offering a trade, our hero decides to show him his power up close. Explaining the logic, K says he'll take something in return for the attack. Screaming in agony, the villain feels his energy being mercilessly drained. Observing the landscape, K sits atop the pile of defeated bodies. Pondering his life, he reflects on what he just did. Scratching his head, K realizes leaving the guy like this could be bad. Imagining the future, he knows the hatred for the color black will only grow. Fearing his reputation, K doesn't want to be known as the color thief. Panicking, he decides he needs to fix this mess now. Searching his pocket, K finds a life-saving vial of red ink. Forcing the liquid, K makes the bandit drink the red ink down his throat. Observing the result, the guy's colors start to return slowly. Moving on to the next one, he forces the others to take the medicine too. Arriving at the gate, the city's routine continues as busy as ever. Noticing something strange, the guard on watch spots a package left there. His eyes widening, he's startled by the pile of tied-up people. Finding the bodies, the group of bandits is completely defeated and captured. Finding their paleness odd, the guard thinks they used too much ink on their mission. Slipping away, Kay blends into the crowd, relieved not to be seen. Reflecting on his plan, he believes returning their color was the best choice. Trusting his luck, Kay hopes Red will clean up the mess if things go south later. Returning home, the sign from Mary's workshop brings a sense of peace. Yelling for his friend, Kay enters excitedly, calling for the girl who was working. Complaining about his disappearance, Marie demands to know where he's been for so long. Grinning from ear to ear, Kay announces that. Revealing the surprise, Kay opens the sack full of shining ores in front of her. Her eyes widening, Marie can hardly believe the absurd amount of colored stones. Hugging her friend, the girl jumps on him, yelling he's the best in the world. Thanking him for the gift, she promises to turn it into something very useful. Beaming radiantly, Marie shines with a happiness that's contagious. Noticing something strange, Kay perceives a mysterious light emanating from her body. Remembering the past, he recalls seeing the same aura on Gail before. Feeling the warmth, Kay understands that it's the true color of Marie's soul. Reflecting on his friend, he recognizes she has always brightened people's lives. Recalling their childhood, Kay knows her smile saved them on their darkest days. Calling him to the workshop, Marie decides to show him the secret project she's been saving. Being mysterious, she reveals she's creating a custom weapon just for him. Shocked, Kay didn't expect her to have progressed so much with that idea. Excited by the resources, Marie says she can now improve the item without worry. Thinking aloud, the inventor already starts imagining what else she can create with the leftovers. Entering without knocking, a visitor comments that he made it back from the Blacklands alive. Recognizing the voice, Kay turns to find Ellie and Gail at the door. Greeting her friends, Marie seems surprised by their sudden appearance. Asking why they're here, Kay jokes if they came to challenge him again. Denying it with class, Gail says he's not in the mood to get beat up today. Explaining the visit, he says that Lord Luminous has summoned the three of them. Shocked, Marie realizes the Supreme Leader is calling for them. Rushing him, she pushes the boy out the door so he won't be late. Promising to finish, Marie guarantees the weapon will be ready when he gets back. Accepting the deal, Kay leaves, eager to see the results of her work. Arriving at headquarters, the city's main building commands total respect. Receiving the group, the secretary with purple glasses asks them to follow her. Crossing the corridor, the trio walks in silence, observing the security. Explaining the place, the woman says this is the command center for operations. Pointing to a room, she indicates they can wait there until they're called. Opening the door, Kay finds a girl with pink hair sitting on a throne. Asking who he is, she questions if he's the hotshot rookie of the moment. Introducing herself formally, the woman says she is the leader of the Pink Squad. Smiling gently, she jokes that the legend about him spread fast in the city. Finding the sight strange, Kay never imagined seeing someone so cute in command. Remembering the rumors, he knows she's a powerhouse among the A ranks. Inviting them to sit, the girl offers tea, relaxing the tense atmosphere. Praising their courage, she comments that Old Red is lucky to have found them. Taking a sip, the leader makes a face, complaining the tea is bitter. Complaining about the taste, she yells, asking who made this slop. Entering the room, the secretary seriously informs them that animals are forbidden. Defending the cat, Kay says Nero is practically part of his family. Handing out the rewards, the pink-haired woman decides to get straight to the point. Distributing cards, she says that's their payment for the mission. Their eyes widening, the trio is stunned by the absurd amount in the account. Presenting the insignia, the leader places the rank badges on the table. Praising their performance, she confirms their immediate promotion. Saving the best for last, the girl announces a special bonus for the team. Offering weapons, she says the Great Alexandrite will forge them personally. In shock, Ellie and Gail can't believe they'll have access to the master. Justifying the expense, the leader says she needs full force against the darkness. Making the team official, she welcomes the new defenders of the city. The mood shifting, the woman stresses the importance of the Stella fragment. Revealing the gravity of the situation, she warns that everyone's survival depends on it. Pressuring the rookies, the leader says the hope of humanity rests on them. Leaving the building, Kay feels the weight of his new responsibility on his shoulders. Sighing in relief, he realizes his life has changed completely. Recalling the day, our hero concludes he made the right choice by accepting. Arriving at the workshop, Kay can't wait to tell Marie everything. Finding the silence strange, he enters slowly, calling for his missing friend. Finding chaos, the ransacked work shows clear signs of a struggle. His eyes widening, Kay feels his blood run cold as he realizes his friend is gone. The scene shifts to an outpost on the city's border. This place serves as the first line of defense against the Blackland. Suddenly, an alarm blares as multiple creatures begin to invade the area. With that, the pioneers gear up to face a horde of monsters. One of the leaders shouts desperately that the enemies just keep on coming. From above, a mysterious figure simply watches the slaughter unfold. The villain, Viper, laughs at the situation, saying she's disappointed by the weak resistance. To her, these waves of monsters are nothing more than pathetic bait. The woman decides she needs something stronger to take down the city, and so she begins to cook up a bolder plan. Looking toward the horizon, Viper declares that she'll have to enter the city again. Hearing this, one of her partners asks if she's planning on getting herself killed. She just laughs in his face and decides to let him in on her plan. Viper reveals that there are secret paths connecting the city to the Blackland. From there, the scene cuts back to our main character in the destroyed workshop. Seeing the mess, our MC desperately screams Mary's name. He immediately starts searching all over the workshop but can't find her. He then kicks down the door to another room, hoping to find her there. Faced with the reality of the situation, the young man realizes she's nowhere to be found. Seeing the tools scattered on the floor, Kay suspects that someone has kidnapped her. Clenching his fist tightly, he wonders who could have done such a thing. Because of this, a dark aura envelopes the boy as he seethes with rage. A moment later, he remembers a tragic moment from Murray's past. Right then and there, the young man swears he won't let that happen again. Suddenly, a strange meow catches our protagonist's attention. Looking down, he sees his little buddy Nero crawling out of a drain. The kitten then places a mysterious object on the workbench. Our MC gets closer and asks what that thing is. Before him lies a mechanical gauntlet that looks pretty powerful. With that, Kay realizes this was the weapon Murray had been creating. Our protagonist understands what Nero is trying to tell him and activates his inverted vision. As he does, a light begins to glow from the gauntlet on the table. Kay recognizes it's the same color he saw on Marie and decides to follow the trail. Although worried, he tries to calm himself down to think clearly about his next steps. He's certain the kidnappers are the same group that attacked him before. Clenching his fist, our protagonist calls the culprits the scum of the city. From that point on, he vows to find Marie because they were the ones who started this fight. With his resolve set, he picks up the gauntlet his friend made for him. Kay then slips on the weapon and promises he'll put it to good use. The gear fits his arm perfectly, as if it were custom made. Next, dark energy flows from his fingertips, and he says it's a perfect fit. He feels his efficiency has increased, and now he can fight for a longer time. And so, Kay finally understands why pioneers love their equipment so much. Calling to Nero, he says they're going to find Marie, no matter what it takes. With that, our protagonist heads out alone into the streets in search of his friend. Walking through the streets, our protagonist follows the trail of light his friend left behind. Soon after, a few men give him suspicious looks as he passes by. Following the glow, he enters an abandoned building and heads all the way to the back. It's there that the young man notices the trail of color ends at that exact spot. An entrance leading down into the city's underground appears before him. This makes him remember that the number of homeless people in the area had suddenly shot up. All of a sudden, a voice says that he was right and that it was a good thing they waited. Our protagonist turns in silence, having already sensed the enemy's presence. A moment later, the same green-haired guy and his gang show up and surround him. The guy asks if our hero has already forgotten his face, adding that they have unfinished business. Lacking any patience, Kay cuts right to the chase and asks where Marie is. The villain refuses to answer and reminds the kid that he left him in pieces last time. Yelling with rage, he explains that he had to work his butt off to get his color back. However, he reveals, "My boss just said to bring you in, no matter what shape you're in." And with that, the man promises to get his revenge and orders everyone to attack at once. In response, our protagonist focuses dark energy into his hand, preparing himself. From there, he creates a shadow dagger and says he's not going to waste any time. Looking at his enemies, he thinks that scum like them don't deserve any mercy. Without hesitation, one of the goons charges at the boy with a machete, but our protagonist easily dodges encounters with his dark blade. Immediately after, he moves like a blur, taking down all the others. Seeing this, the green-haired leader is shocked and begins charging his power. Screaming in rage, he calls the kid a monster and unleashes an energy slash. However, our protagonist doesn't even flinch, deciding to take the hit head on. The villain's eyes go wide in disbelief that his attack was completely useless. Without giving him a chance to breathe, Kay lands a punch right in the middle of his face. He then grabs him by the collar, telling him that things are different now. Glancing at the goons on the floor, he warns that he has no pity for kidnappers. With a cold stare, our hero says they should be grateful they're still alive. Finally, he snatches the leader's weapon and calls him a filthy pioneer. Our protagonist says that people like him don't deserve the blessing of the light. Ignoring the screams, Kay begins to drain all the color from the villain's body. With that done, he drags him along, saying he needs a guide for the underground. And so, the young man leaps into the dark hole, taking the guy with him. During the fall, our protagonist stares down into the infinite darkness below. Suddenly, a bright light appears at the bottom of the pit, illuminating the way. As they get closer, he spots a massive underground city filled with pillars. Looking at the place, he can hardly believe he's back in this setting again. And that's because our hero remembers that this place is the dreaded Undercity,